Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to make your microphone sound better in OBS. So I'm going to talk about how to set up your microphone, OBS Audio Settings, and how to actually use OBS microphone, so voice filters as well. But first guys, if you want, you can go down on this video in the comment section and click on the first comment that I pinned. This will bring you to my Fiverr, and here you can get a YouTube logo and banner or a modern minimalist YouTube logo and banner for your YouTube channel. But now back to the video. Now you might hear it from my voice, there are currently no effects whatsoever on my microphone, because obviously I'll add the filters afterwards. Now I do want to talk about how to actually set up your microphone, because this is a very important first step. First of all, you have to make sure, as simple as this sounds, so make sure you talk into the correct side of your microphone. Some microphones have to record from the side, sometimes you have to talk on top of it. So that's also very important way of talking into your microphone. Also the distance from the microphone. Now I generally advise you to be like 1 finger to 2 fingers away from your microphone, like 1.5 to 2 fingers away, because if you're too close, you're gonna get boominess, so a lot of low end. And if you're too far away, you can actually hear yourself from further away and you're gonna hear the room, which is not something you want, depending as well on the gain or the microphone. And also make sure you have like an accessory like a pop filter, which is definitely something I could advise, that removes plosives from when you're talking. I also have a foam to make my sound a bit warmer on my microphone, but that is very optional. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And lastly, also keep in mind about your room acoustics. Now not all rooms have actually like isolation or acoustics against the wall, I understand that. Do make sure though that there's like the least amount of background noise when you're recording, so turn off your fan, any other devices that make some noise, some crackling noises in the background. Even put some blankets around you if you can. So those are quickly some steps I did want to mention, because they play a crucial role in your sound quality that is often forgotten, because you cannot fix everything with the filters. So do keep that in mind, it is very important. Now before starting in OBS itself, I quickly want to go to Windows. Go down here, as you can see, to the little sound icon. You want to right click and do sound settings. Here go down to input and you want to search for your microphone. Now I have the microphone Blue Yeti set as a default as well, as you can see for me. And then you want to go and click on this. And then here, you want to make sure that in format, that the 2 channels 16-bit 48,000 Hz is selected here, DVD quality. Because even though there's not a really big difference between the 44,100, it is definitely a better quality. So of course you want to have a better quality naturally on your microphone as well. So that's why I definitely advise you to select the 48,000 Hz. And here the input volume, you can generally just put to 100. We're going to change that later afterwards anyway. But you can just go ahead and close this. And so now in the first instance I will go to the OBS settings. So I'm going to click here. I'm actually first going to go down to output and here to the little audio tab. Now there's not really too much we're going to do here. Just make sure that whatever tracks you're going to use, that they're set to 320. The audio bitrate should be 320, which is going to be the best quality. You can bring it down, but in most cases you can just go ahead and use this 320 quality, which is going to be the best. And then here in recording, make sure you select these tracks. 1 is going to be my desktop audio and track 2 is going to be my microphone. So make sure that you also have 2 tracks. That I'll show you in just a second. My desktop audio, so my output, and my input is going to be my microphone. And so I will go to the actual audio tab. First of all, up here, make sure that this is once again on 48,000 kilohertz. That's also important, same, it's a better quality. And channels, you want to make sure that's on stereo as well. So now of course for the input, which is very important, once again I have Blue Yeti microphone, so that's the one that I selected. But you can also use something else. In case you're for example using Voice Meter, you can use that as well. You generally just want to select your own microphone. Then what's also quite important in this case is going to be the OBS output. I just put it onto my speakers, so that basically means I hear it through my headphones that I have right now. Also you can just select anything else, once again Voice Meter or any other software, if you actually want to hear it through something else. Then if you go down to advanced, that step is also quite important, is you can choose a monitoring device, so where you actually want to look after the audio, that you want to keep an eye on it. Now you can do here, select any software that you want, that you can use, where you can actually see on a software apart to monitor the audio. So whenever you're done here in the OBS settings, at the end of a page, make sure you click apply, and then you click OK. Then we're going to go ahead to the 3 dots, click on it, and we're going to do advanced audio properties. Now here, as we saw earlier, I have the 2 channels, so the track number 1 is going to be my desktop audio, and track number 2 is specifically going to be my microphone. Here you have some options. You can actually also add some volume here in dB. You can set it to mono. Generally you can set a microphone alone to mono. If you want that even balance, so you're going to do some panning to the left and the right. But then here, I'm going to go to the one of the microphone. I'm going to click on it and go ahead to monitor and output. Now when I select that, I can actually hear myself speak. So now I can actually hear myself speak, which is not something I really like. But basically whenever that is selected, monitor and output, which is going to be important if you're going to do the filters in a little bit, is to actually hear what you're doing. So you know what effects are going to be added, you know what they are going to do to your voice. So it is actually advised at some points when you're testing out the filters on your voice, that you sometimes just go back here and click on monitor and output and just hear for yourself how it changes your voice. And otherwise you just do monitor off and it'll still be recording my voice, but I just don't hear it myself anymore. Then we can close this. So now of course we're going to go to the most important step, which is going to be the OBS filters. Once again, I'm going to go ahead to the 3 little dots, click filters. Now in my case, I have no filters added yet, so it's going to be blank here. Probably it's going to be for you as well. If you have any remaining filters, just right click on them and click remove, or do the little bin down here. You can actually start from 0 if that's something you want. And so we're just going to go ahead and right click here and add our first filter. I'm going to start with a noise gate. So just name it here whatever you want. You can just click OK after that. So this is something that's actually going to focus more on your voice and remove some background noise. If I stop talking, you probably hear that it cuts off pretty quickly. This is done on purpose, of course. Now this noise gate isn't going to be my favorite one. If you're going to use this one though, make sure that the settings are around here, like between 30 and -20 I would say, for both the close threshold and the open one. You can also go ahead and bring them all the way here and then start bringing them up or start bringing them down. You really see the soft spot. Sometimes you're going to be at the end of a sentence, but it's going to cut off before you finish your sentence, and people are going to notice that, and so it's going to be very annoying when your voice cuts off all the time. So also make sure that the attack time is quite low. These you can pretty much keep the same, maybe put release time to like 100. Really depends, you have to check that for yourself. But once again, that is not one I'm going to use, so I'm actually going to do remove here. Then I'm going to right click again and do a noise suppression actually. Just click this one. Once again, you can name it whatever you want. You click OK. Now there are going to be 2 choices here. Speaks is something I don't really advise you. It's going to be a lower quality as well. You could, if you have some more of a low-end PC, or if you feel like you don't need it as much, you can actually go for this one. But I generally, if you're going to choose between the 2 anyway, go for this one, the RN noise. And as you probably hear right now, it cuts off pretty directly when I stop talking, so I kind of did it on purpose. Once again, you have to see if you want to do that or not. In any case, very important that you start with either a noise suppression or with a noise gate at the beginning, because that way we immediately remove the background noise that is present, if there is any. But the one that I'm actually going to go for, which is also going to be like a noise suppression, it's going to be the NVIDIA Audio Effects, which is my personal favorite. Now if I bring this down for a second, if you actually want to have this one, I'll put a link in the description that you can go ahead to. It's going to be the NVIDIA Audio Effects, so make sure you actually only go for the audio effects. Then you have to see which NVIDIA GeForce you have. I have the 4020 I believe, so I went for the NVIDIA 40. So do make sure in your specs to look if that's the one you go for as well, or if you're going for the 50 or maybe the 30 or the 20. That is something you have to check out for yourself and download that version. Then you'll be able to use that within OBS here. Now so you have 3 options. You have the noise removal, the room echo removal, which I'll go for more, and then the noise removal plus the room echo removal, but that's a bit too much I think in my opinion. So I would generally go for the room echo removal. Now it's all the way down so you don't really hear anything, but if I'm gonna exaggerate this, like put this to like around 90, I think you start to notice what it really does to the voice, where it can actually become a bit muffled, and you clearly hear around my voice like a pretty closed and muffled sound at times. So it is definitely going to be too much if you're going to put it this high. Now, I don't have that much background noise. I have a little bit, but not too much. So what I like to do is set mine personally to 30, because generally the only thing that really makes sound in my room is going to be my computer. For the rest, there's not really any sounds, any fans or whatever. Well, the fans of my computer, but anything else. So that's why I don't do it too much. You in your case, really sounds in your room or outside that you can't put off. You might want to put this a bit higher. You can definitely test around with that. But once again, really do not do this too much. It's going to be very noticeable. So then there is going to be an optional step, which is going to be to add the gain. So if you feel like you put, for example, the gain on your microphone too quiet, so that there's not a lot of sound coming from the background, you can go ahead and boost the gain here in the OBS filters as well. So if I right click and add the gain right here, I generally just put it to 3 if I'm going to use one, but it will definitely go down a bit later on in the video when I'll add other effects. But this I really do because I put my gain on my Blue Yeti very low, because the Blue Yeti actually picks up a lot of background noise pretty quickly. Then we are actually going to go to a very important step. If I right click again and go to a free band equalizer, so an EQ, click OK. Now this is a very simplified version of EQ. So this is going to be the highs, the mids and the lows, exactly what it says. So this is going to affect the higher frequencies of your voice, and the mid range as well we can affect, and also the lower end of your voice, the frequencies. So keep that in mind. Now I've changed these throughout the years a bit, but I generally like to have still some highs, because I want to have a pretty clear voice to a certain degree, maybe like 3.6 dB here. So I like to be some more clarity in my voice as well, because I'm gonna add some low end, so that's kind of gonna balance each other out. And the mids, you can see if I do the mids, if I put them higher, it's gonna get thinner. I don't really like that. And lower, it can be sometimes too low, it gets too thick, so I also don't want it to be too low either. But I like to do generally a little bit of a cut in the mids. Let's actually go for around 190, I like that. And then the actual lows, I'm gonna boost a little bit as well, but not too much, just so that there's also some other low end. And so this will be like settings I'll generally go for. As I said, said, it has changed a little bit through the years, and this also really depends on how you want it, because I like to have a little bit of low end in my voice, not too much, not like bad, like rumbling low end. I have to have some good bass in there, but not too much. So that's also something that you have to check out for yourself. I like that as a preference. You might don't like that at all. You might prefer it more of like a thinner sound. Then you can go ahead and do that and just put the lows a bit down or the mids a bit more towards the middle here and don't really touch them. Then I'm gonna add an expander. I'm gonna explain to you what that does. Now the expander is gonna be like the quiet parts of our voice, and afterwards I'm gonna add a compression, which is gonna be the loud parts of our voice. So here, first of all, the ratio. I'll just keep the ratio at 2. I don't really touch this one, and otherwise it's gonna be between 4 and 2 maybe, but don't overdo that. The ratio really is something you have to not touch too much, let's say. The threshold, I actually start by bringing all the way down here. And so what you wanna do then is either use your voice or your keyboard, or both, and start clicking on like something on your keyboard, or you just keep on talking while doing this, and you're gonna bring this to the right until you think, like if you hit your desk maybe, you know, you start doing some little things with your keyboards and just once again talk and see where approximately you want. Just start, for example, do like this. It's entirely up to you where you approximately want to stop this. I generally have it at -37, which you could actually go down a bit more to like -30, but I wouldn't really go underneath that because same, it's gonna really just start cutting off your voice and not doing it really justice. So make sure that you also don't bring this down too much. I like -37, you can bring it down a bit more, but not too much. The attack time, I'm really gonna put quite low. You can do between -2 or 4, I just sometimes even put it at 1. The release, we're actually gonna double that to 100. And in this case, the output gain, now you can actually also change the output gain. If, for example, here it became too quiet or too loud, you can actually put the output gain a bit higher or lower, depending on which result you got from this. But it once again depends, it's not necessary either, let's say. If the volume is good for you right now, the gain, you can just leave this as 0. Which right here, as you can see, should be -15, between here -15 and -10 when you speak. That's actually a good part to be at here, so keep that in mind as well. And we're also getting less and less background noise, which is also very nice. And now for another important part, I'm going to right click once again and get the compressor this time. This, as I said, is going to be the loud part of your voice. So we just saw how to manage the quiet parts. Now we're going to manage the louder parts. For example, if you scream or you accidentally hit something hard, I'm going to try to minimize those sounds. So if you're, for example, recording, but of course also in streaming, so to actually not scare the audience all of a sudden. So here the ratio is a bit high here. Now for starters, I definitely think it cuts out a bit too fast now. So I'm going to put the ratio down. I would say between 4 and 3. 2 is a bit too low maybe. I would say 3 around here. Then I'm going to start by doing the threshold all the way to the right. I'm going to have to once again put that attack quite low. Just going to put it on 1. Release once again, we can put that at 100. And then at the end we also have the gain, but we're actually first going to go ahead and start bringing the threshold back a bit here. So it's going to make my voice a bit quieter as well. So if I go down to like, so actually my voice will get a bit quiet here, but I'm going to go to -30-ish. There you go, I should sound pretty quiet right now at the moment, I think. But that's why we're going to compensate with the output gain here. So this is something I'm going to start bringing up, so that we can also get some of our volume back, obviously, as well as an output to a level that we like. So I might put it up a little bit. We're not gonna put this too loud either. There we go. So that is actually just basically because we put it very quiet, the threshold, once again, so that we don't, when something loud happens, that you don't hear it as well. And so we put the output gain up here so that the general level of our sounds isn't too quiet either. And to finish off, we're gonna add a limiter, well, literally limit the sound. Now you can choose the threshold. I think -6 is a bit much, so I'm gonna go for -3 so that the sound won't go over -3, because -3 is already quite loud. You can actually do towards 0 as well, which is actually going to be the maximum amount of threshold you can do here. But basically 3, it's going to make sure that no matter what happens in terms of sound during your recording or your streams, it won't go louder than -3 dB. It's just literally a limiter of the sound. No matter what form of audio it is, it won't go beyond -3 dB. So that's definitely a nice last finishing touch here to control your audio. And of course also make sure that this is in a specific order as I just did, which is very important. That's why we also start with a noise suppression, so a noise removal here, because we first want to make sure that everything on the background is, if of course there's sounds that you cannot put off, then there are going to be sounds that we can actually make quieter with the noise removal or the noise gate. Then we put the gain so that we don't actually boost the wrong sounds. If we would have put the gain first here, it would have boosted those bad background sounds, and that's not something we want, of course. So that's why we put it second after the noise removal. And then we do the EQ and start adding the expander and compressor above the EQ, and to finish off the limiter, so for the sound. So make sure that you do it in that order, is actually very important. That is also orders that are done within the world of music. So if you're mixing any music, important steps, you could in some cases start with a compressor as well, but keep in mind that this right here is the order you should do as well in your case, because that could also drastically change the sound if you start changing these around here. But then I can go ahead and close this. It will actually be saved now. So these would be my settings. And as you can see, I can also test right here. If I'm going to be quiet, we're going to see how much background noise there is left. So I'm just going to stop talking for a moment. As you can see, it sometimes just gets over -60, that's all. That means that we have really minimal background noise, which is also very nice. So the focus of course is going to be more in your voice. So there you go guys, that is actually how you make your microphone better in OBS. No matter if you have more of a low budget microphone or a high end, there's always some things that you could change on your microphone to make it sound better. I hope in any case that it helped. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below. Please, if you like, really nice. Subscribe to also really nice. Hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye.